Hi, I'm Heather from Frugal Renewal. Welcome to our channel. Today it's all about, oh, that was a little over the top. Let's try that again. Hi, I'm Heather from Frugal Renewal. Welcome to our channel. So today it's all about upholstery projects. Chairs in particular. Chairs are one of the most versatile pieces of furniture. You can easily move them from room to room. So what I like to do is I like to upholster them in fabric that are pretty neutral so that they coordinate with just about every room in the house. So we have a side chair, for instance, in our bedroom that works great as a guest seat in the living room, an extra chair at the table in the dining room. We can pull it into the sunroom if we have another person over. We can use it in the den, we can use it as a side chair in the bedroom, and when we have Zoom calls, it's the one that gets pulled in as the number 2 chair for computer conferences. So, chairs, versatile, useful, functional, and also fun. They're fun to upholster in different ways. It's fun to look for chairs that are in different styles and patterns. So I'm going to show you some projects that I've done in the past. The chair project that I just wrapped up and returned to my friend, and the one that I will be working on shortly, and one that I'll be working on later on this fall. So let's jump in. This is the chair I've been working on for my friend Karen. It is most of the way done. I put some new fabric over the existing fabric, used my air compressor nailer to attach, and then now I'm putting on the edging. So when you put the edging on, it covers all of the staples and the frayed edge of the fabric. And the way that you attach it typically is with some kind of a tacky fabric glue. In my case, I'm using Fabri-Tac, and you'll be able to see it goes on pretty quickly and pretty smoothly. So you may have been able to see that we tried to get the trim on all in one piece. The sticky glue dries clear, and there's some fiddling and some rearranging. You may have seen me go back up and add a little bit more glue and try to get it around a staple, push it down where maybe there was a little bit of fabric left that I hadn't trimmed away quite as carefully as I had in other places. I'm not a professional. I don't claim to be a professional, but I don't think that there's anything to be afraid of when you're trying to do upholstery. Because seriously, what's the worst thing that'll happen? Is that you decide you need to take it apart and do it again, or go find a professional to fix your mistakes. So, for a favor, I thought this was a chair that I could tackle. And it's not perfect, but my friend, I don't think, is expecting perfection. And that looks pretty good. I just need to add some trim to the back. So these are some of the tools that I use when I'm doing upholstery projects. And these things are super important. Some of them are optional, but most of these are required. So you need to have a really good pair of sharp scissors. I had to go out and get a new pair today. My last sewing scissors were left out, and if you deal with fabric, you know that as soon as scissors are used for something other than fabric, then they get dulled. Paper especially dulls scissors. So I had to get a new pair of scissors today from Michael's. Another tool that you would need would be either staple cutters or pliers to pull out old upholstery nails and staples, and potentially to cut out ones that you put in a less than ideal place. Another tool that's helpful to have is a hammer, an old-fashioned hammer, to help push in staples that maybe didn't go in as far as they should. Another thing that's really important to have for attaching fabric to your piece of furniture, but also the trim to the fabric, is a special glue. And the one I like to use is called Fabri-Tac. It dries clear, it's very tacky, and it's not too hard to squeeze out of the bottle. Hand strength seems to be, like fatigue seems to be something that gets to me after a while. So I was using Aleene's super thick glue, which also works really quite effectively. The problem with it is that you have to squeeze so hard to get the glue out that after a while my hand cramps up. So I really like Fabri-Tac for that reason, just for ease of use. It's really important that you have a staple gun to attach the fabric to the frame. You can use just a good old-fashioned handheld staple gun. Make sure you get the right length staples. For me, I tend again to get hand fatigue. So what I've been using in the last couple of years is an air compressor with a pneumatic air nailer. But sorry, not an air nailer, it's a staple gun that uses the compressor. And that applies the force and you can go really quickly. When you're upholstering, for instance, this is the back of the chair, you would start at, this is upside down. Let's see if you can understand what I'm saying. When you're upholstering the back of a chair, if you think of it like the face of a clock, you would start at 12 o'clock and you would put in a staple or two there. Then you would move over to 11 and 1 and you would make sure that you've gone in that direction. And then you want to work your way down each side, especially if it has a curve to it like this one. And since it's the back, you can tuck the staples underneath the wood frame. On the front of the chair, you would also work starting at 12 o'clock and go across and down. And then for this type of chair, it's a matter of tucking the fabric in, but really far down, using some sort of a flat-headed tool, or risking the health and safety of your fingers to really jam the fabric down in there. The problem being that you don't really know what kinds of sharp things might be down there a couple of inches down. You can add a little bit of glue too on the bottom side of the fabric to help it stay down there. On the seat of a chair, on the other hand, you would do it a little differently. You would have the fabric tucked in at 12 and stapled at 6, and then you would go to 9 and 3 o'clock, and then you would work to the corners and the curves, because the curved corners are the tricky part. So you might have to do some tucks and pleats or folds to get it in. And you can tell here it's not perfect. I could have done a slightly better job here with this front corner. This corner here, I would say definitely I did a better job. Yeah, this one could be better. Unfortunately, now that everything has been stapled and glued, there's not too much I can do to fix that. Thankfully, I'm not a professional. My friend knows I'm not a professional. I think it still looks fantastic. I've been very careful for the most part. So there are a couple little things that I probably could have done a little bit better. But I'm quite sure my friend will be pleased with the overall outcome. There's a matching chair to this one that I need to work on. That might not happen this week, but I'm pretty pleased with this one. It's a good project. The problem when I upholster or do any kind of project really is that I lose track of time. I'm pretty sure it's well past dinner time, and I should probably feed my children and then go drop off this chair at my friend's house. So, I have a few more chair projects I want to show you. but I think this one is done. It was Andrew's grandmother's chair, or Andrew's great-grandmother's chair, which made me a little nervous working on an antique piece. But I don't think it was too complicated. We'll see how chair number 2 goes. Time for dinner! So as I've mentioned, I've done a number of chair projects. This is one. This one clearly needs a steam clean, but I don't have a steam cleaner right now. I changed out the upholstery and had my sister-in-law sew the cushion cover because I didn't know how to do it at the time with piping. I restained and tinted the wood, and this was done, I want to say, probably about 8 years ago maybe. The thing that I like about the chair, other than the lines and the wood and the vintage look to it, is the fabric. I actually used the wrong side, if there's such a thing as a right side of fabric, but I used the back. The fabric is actually white on the other side, and I liked sort of the paisley, rustic look, the natural colors. Oh, it really needs a steam clean. No judgment, please. This chair gets used, it gets lived in, and our dog likes to eat treats on it, hence some of the discoloration. This is one of my chair projects. This chair, I worked on this chair at the same time as the other one. This one I did first. I used a different type of fabric, but still with that natural, almost textured burlappy type look to it. I think it's called a tweed. And again, I tinted and adjusted the coloration on the wood and then polyurethaned it. And did the upholstery again to the best of my ability at the time. And my sister-in-law, thank you Clara, was hired to sew the cushions with piping because I maybe could have tried it, but it was more than I was willing to try at the time. And again, probably about 8 years ago, it's held up quite well, I think. So very pleased with that too. It's in our living room. That's another of my chair projects. I did 6 of these dining chairs. I'm just walking around the house from room to room and finding all these chair projects everywhere. They're one of the easier pieces of furniture to refinish, I think. For this set, I used the fabric that's the same as what's on our rattan sofa in the sunroom. Although I bought this fabric last year and I did this project last year, so this came first. But that's how I knew that I liked that fabric. So these chairs are a little bit orangey, although they're showing up as kind of red cherry in this film with the lighting. But they're definitely a little bit of an orangey brown, and then with the kind of gray-green and cream-colored fabric, I think it just looks charming and works with our table, which needs to be refinished. That'll be an up-and-coming project. So dining chairs, simple, straightforward, unscrew them from the bottom, and then with it upside down, staple gunning the other side. For these chairs, I actually made new foam cushions, but if you're going to do that, make sure that you use quilting batting as the in-between layer between the foam and the fabric. It helps soften the edges so that when you pull them tight and staple gun underneath, it's just a softer look instead of just straight foam. And here you can see I tried to do the little tiny creases around the curve to make it I was trying to avoid having big folds and big creases. So, and I think that makes for a nicer corner finish. That's the third chair project that I can show you. I think I have a few more I can find. So this is one of the chairs that I've had probably since my kids were little. And when I bought it at a garage sale, it was natural wood with no seat, no cushion, nothing. So it's had several variations over the years. It's had blue upholstery on the seat with a toss cushion in the back. Before I knew how to upholster, so the line with the foam was very obvious and not very comfortable. It looked very sharp. We molded a seat back by using thin plywood, wetting it and bending it, and then I upholstered it on both sides, back and front. It does have a couple of screws on the back. It's got a nice thick cushion on the bottom, and I tinted and stained the wood, I think paint wash and polyurethane, a type of faux finish. If I was to redo this chair again in my lifetime, which could happen, I think I'll probably strip it and bring it back to its wood. But for now, it's very similar to the other living room upholstered chairs. It's in fact the same fabric as this chair here. So, and the wood color is very similar. That's what I was going for. So I believe I painted it white and then tinted it with an ochre, burnt umber. I forget. It's a brown color. And then polyurethane it. It looks like the back cushion is starting to sag. Over here, it looks like it's going to need some tweaks and adjustments. But again, I'm pretty happy with it. I love how the bottom's open. And it's just a side chair or an accent chair. And it's a really practical size. And it has been well loved and well used by children. It used to be considered to be their thinking chair. That's what they called it. It was their ice cream eating chair. It's had a number of occupations or responsibilities. So this is one of my favorites, and I think it's had probably about 3 different versions. I'm happy with this version. Again, it needs a steam clean. I'll have to go out and rent an upholstery cleaner. On to the next project. So this is a chair that's inspired by Thonet, a French bentwood design. It's not an authentic chair. If it was, it would be worth thousands of dollars. It's an imitation or reproduction. I found it at Value Village and had to snap it up pretty quickly. The cushions were horrible, hideous. But all I did was replace the fabric and the foam in the fabric for the round one. I'd never done a round one before. And to help hide the tucks, I attached for my trim jute, because if you haven't figured that out yet, I like the rustic look. This chair, if I remember right, did not have a back part. It was just a hollow. And I knew if I was going to sit on this chair for any length of time, it was going to require a back. So again, thin plywood, bent, under weight or pressure, upholstered on the back and trimmed out with the jute, and a very thin foam and quilt batting and fabric. This has been my office chair for the last year, teaching online, and I can see my footprint here, because that's how I tend to sit on desk chairs, is to sit on them and haul one foot up beside me, which makes me think that when I get the steam cleaner, I will be cleaning this chair as well. But this is a completely different style of chair, but I like it because it's quirky and different. Let's see, I think there's more chairs to show you. This chair is one that I'm very proud of. It's been another one of those chairs that has had a few different life cycles here. It might have been when we were in New York with visiting my sister-in-law and going to yard sales, and we got this really cute chair that didn't have a seat. So we ended up also sanding this one down because it kind of had a reddish orange finish to it, and I wasn't a fan of that. And I tried something I'd never tried before, which is using an oxidizing method that was all the rage a number of years ago to darken wood without staining it. And it had to do with using steel wool and vinegar, putting it in a jar, setting it aside for a while for the steel wool to rust, and then applying the just slightly tinted vinegar to the wood, and it darkened as dark as this is here. So it basically made the wood change color. Then I sanded it down and polyurethaned it, and I'm quite pleased with the wood finish, the wood look. It does need a little bit of repairs on some of the lower wood pieces might need some glue and some attention. At first, it was a caned seat that was wrecked. So we bought the chair and the caning was gone, but the remnants of it were left behind. So I had to remove them. And with a router, take out the old caning. I attempted my first and probably only time caning a chair seat. It is not as easy as it looks, and I had trouble with the router getting the grooves cleared out. I had trouble with the caning, and in fact, as I was caning the chair, some of the caning broke a little bit, so it only lasted for a year or two because it had already started to tear. And I saw this really neat picture on Pinterest of weaving a chair seat. Of weaving, I'm trying to remember what they were weaving. It was a weaving that somebody had used almost to make a fabric out of jute. And I thought, wouldn't that be a cool chair seat? So I spent weeks weaving this chair seat until I got calluses on the sides of my fingers that I still have to this day, and we're talking years ago. And then attaching this chair seat, the plywood with the jute cover to this chair. And it lasted really well for as long as it was my desk chair at our last house. But then when we moved, our middle son decided to have it be his desk chair. And I don't know if you can tell here, but there are these two bare areas where he wore the jute away from his legs bouncing. So that wore out the jute. So he's moved on to another chair, and I'm left to try and figure out what to do with this one. A couple of options. I can take all of the jute off and do the same thing again, which I might do because I really like the texture that a woven seat like this provides. Now, it is not a soft seat because this is jute directly on top of plywood, not a hole, not an empty space. And maybe you can see that better from the bottom, or maybe not. The bottom of the chair just has the jute string, but in between the string is the plywood. To save on jute, I didn't continue the weaving all the way through. If I was to do it again, I wouldn't weave it all the way through, but I would have the string continue, at least maybe go through the middle a few strings, just to keep it from bunching up here. It was fine for me, but like I said, my son was a little bit harder on it with his bouncing legs. Some of those jute strings got pulled up and out from where they were tucked under and wrapped, and some of them tore too, just from wear and tear. So it's held up pretty well. So one option is to reweave the seat. I do, however, have another option, and I would actually love some feedback on this option. And that would be to pad the seat with a foam cushion, just a thin foam, wouldn't be very thick, and then of course the quilted batting, and then to use this fabric as the seat cover. And this fabric has the natural colors that I like, and it has some blues and greens in it and some creams. So hey, if you have thoughts on should I reweave the seat, or should I upholster a cushion with this outdoor fabric? I would love to know your thoughts because I'm undecided right now and I have so many other projects on the go that this isn't a high priority, so I have time to read your comments. All right, so that's the next chair. On to the one in the sunroom. And this is the next chair that I'm going to be working on for my friend Karen. This one's going to be a little more challenging. It has arms, although I think they're completely separate pieces. That'll be okay. Currently it has a seam here at the side, but I think I'm just going to glue some trim over there when I put the fabric on. So I think it'll be okay. That's the next project. But first, of course, we have vacation to deal with. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to our channel. We're slowly and steadily climbing and growing, and I love that. I love that there are people who are interested in the weird and wacky world of frugal renewal. I hope that you learn along with me on my journey, but also from my mistakes. And believe me, there are lots of those too. Just a reminder, we're going to be taking a little vacation, visit some family. I've learned about this new thing called YouTube Shorts. So that's going to be my attempt on vacation, to upload just a few short, I think they're 15 to 30 second clips of some of the neat things that we can see and do on a frugal renewal vacation. So until next time, take care.